Today I'm very excited to talk about my favorite subject, which is building hybrid apps and mobile apps with Ionic and Angular. My name is Adam Bradley. I'm the lead developer of Ionic over at Drifty and based in beautiful Madison, Wisconsin. Now, Ionic is built for building hybrid applications, but what exactly is a hybrid application? Basically, it's taking a single-page web app, such as an Angular app, and wrapping it inside Cordova or PhoneGap and making it become a native application. But what's really cool about this is that you actually have access to native APIs, such as your camera, Bluetooth, Touch ID, things like that. But you may have heard in the past, or there might be a negative light shown that's on hybrid applications. But I'm here to say that it's not 2007 anymore. Actually, the devices that we have changed drastically. Take a look at the original iPhone 7, or the original iPhone, and how much it has changed in just a short period of time. And just how drastically the specs that we have in the phones that are sitting in our pockets today are night and day difference to the original hybrid app phones. But what's more encouraging to me is just how fast the standards have improved and how much they've improved from what we were originally used to. Even the older browsers and the older devices have specs and have the standards that we can reliably code against. And this is something that wasn't traditionally available to original hybrid apps. And if you look at just in a few short months, how fast iOS 8 has taken over to dominate the globe compared to iOS 7. And that, again, this is something that's very amazing that wasn't available in the past. And even iOS 7 was already a great operating system. And what's great about Android is in 4.3 and below, actually it had the Android browser, which I kindly like to label as the IE6 of mobile. Well, now, what's cool is you can see it's doing a nosedive here. And Android 4.4, which now has Chromium-based, meaning it's basically the Chrome browsers in the back end. And what's even cooler is in Android 5.0, it now has a self-updating browser. So it's getting only better and better. So really what my point is everything you've heard in the past is night and day difference to what the landscape is nowadays. So you want to build a hybrid app, great. But really, native SDKs are great too. You know, I'm not knocking native whatsoever. Native SDKs provide this common UI, these great APIs to control the UI, views, navigation, a common structure, and great gestures, transitions, all that. It comes with this built-in SDK for iOS and Android and all the others. So let's build a hybrid app. But this is the problem. All that stuff didn't come with it. It's not fair to compare iOS to hybrid because iOS comes with all the native navigation, tabs, scrolling built right in. When you want to build a Cordova or PhoneGap app, you basically have a wrapper for an HTML file. That's all you're given. So then that means everyone is having to reinvent the wheel of how does an app work. And so this got us thinking, we need to be able to provide a great way to provide mobile interactions and mobile interfaces rather than just legacy desktop user interfaces. And as you can guess, this is where Ionic comes in. This is where Ionic provides that SDK, that missing SDK that traditionally hybrid apps did not have. And this also shares the same common goal as SDKs, or native SDKs, as we want you really to focus on building your app and what you want your app to do, rather than trying to recreate how an app works. It's a subtle difference, but it's a very significant difference. And my favorite part is that it's all based off of web technologies you already know and love. If you've ever built a web page before, you are now a native app developer for multiple platforms. And also, we want to build not just CSS demos, but actually large-scale app development, or large-scale apps. And we'll be able to do this with directives and services. And you're at an Angular conference, so I'm guessing that you guys are aware of this. So it actually helps out drastically to be able to use Angular to extend these apps and build large-scale apps, not just little CSS demos. And from the ground up, Ionic has been built with Sass, meaning that all of our variables and mixins are built for you to customize. So we don't want a bunch of apps that were built with or a bunch of apps that look like Ionic, but rather a bunch of Ionic apps that were built with Ionic, and you never know. And we also provide platform continuity. And what I mean by that is we make subtle changes to the app with the same code base. So in this example here, iOS prefers to have tabs on the bottom, Android prefers tabs on the top. But the code base behind this all is identical. However, someone who uses an Android device is very used to the tabs on the top, and someone with iOS, it has them on the bottom. So this is one of those things that we're able to provide that allows just platform continuity. And this is only one example. We actually have many others where it's adjusting for you automatically, and it's all highly configurable. And so this is how it all comes together. We want you to build your app with your customizations, your colors, your business logic to make your unique app. Next is Ionic, and that's where we provide that missing SDK, which traditionally iOS and Android would provide that SDK of how a view works, how views transition, and things like that. Then there's Angular, which you all know and love, all which comes together to build that single-page web application that fits inside of a web view. Now, basically what a web view is simply a full-screen web browser, but without the URL bar. And the really cool thing is that you still have the same native access to cameras and Bluetooth and all that the same stuff which native applications have. All of which creates a native app which is downloadable and even sellable from Google's App Store or Apple's App Store and Google's Play Store. Now, there's lots of components to Ionic, but in the interest of time, I'll just focus on a few of them here. So one of my favorites is collection repeat, which is pretty much a replacement for ng-repeat. One difference is here, let's say I have my collection of 3,000 cats. It's a huge array of my 3,000 favorite cats. Now, traditionally, with ng-repeat, it's going to render out 3,000 items, which is a little large. However, what collection repeat does is it's only rendering the viewable ones. And if you were to scroll through this on your native application or on your phone, you're going to be amazed that this is not a hybrid application, but and just how smooth it's scrolling. Because what we're doing here is only showing you a handful of elements at a time and only rendering the ones that are in the viewable area. And this is offering amazing performance, and actually a trick that we stole from iOS. This is exactly how iOS and Android is able to have their apps smooth scrolling too. Next is navigation. This is a huge part of allowing the apps to, allowing users to develop their app and not have to worry about, well, how does a view transition work? How does it look on iOS? How does it look on Android? Things like that. And what's even great is that we're able to provide multiple history stacks. So traditionally in a web browser, you have a forward and back button. So you can go to page 1, page 2, page 3, then you hit the back button, you go to page 2, page 3, you start going back, and that's just a linear stack. But with Ionic, we're able to replicate exactly how native applications work, such as with tabs. So here I'm in the Home tab, and I go to View 2 of the Home tab, but still in the Home tab, and I go one in, and now I have a back button over in the Home here. Now if I go to the About tab, again, don't have a back button because I'm in a whole new history stack. And let's go to View 2 of the About tab. Same thing, now I have a back button. Now if I return to the Home tab, I return back to View 2 of that Home tab, and my back button is to go to View 1 of the Home tab. Whereas a traditional web or desktop navigation would have taken you back to the About tab. So these are those subtle differences that we're able to provide that traditional desktop legacy applications do not have. Next, what I'm really thrilled about is to talk about cached views. And actually, Angular 2 has been talking about this a lot. So this is pretty cool that we're all in line. So basically, as you're navigating between views, the previous views stay in the DOM. And the scope is disconnected so it doesn't add to the digest cycle. But the state is maintained, the data is maintained. So what this really is awesome is when you have a large list again, and let's say you scroll down halfway through the list, you navigate in a little bit, or you navigate to the first detail page, and when you return, you're still going to be at the exact same area you were at before because the scroll position is maintained, and all that data that you once loaded is still there sitting for you ready to use. We also introduced lifecycle events where it tells you before, your app is told before it enters, after it enters, before it leaves, and so on and so forth. And all of this is highly configurable. And remember how I said that we're actually caching views, and we're keeping them in the DOM. So check this out. Let's go to page 2. And just like with the native app, we can swipe to go back, which is pretty cool. And it actually has offered amazing performance, and it still updates the URL just how it normally would, because this is no different than hitting the back button. And there's actually many, many other components we have to Ionic. And I encourage you to check out ionicframework.com, see all the different stuff that we provide with it. But in the interest of time, I'm going to keep moving on. Ionic also comes with over 700 MIT licensed font icons that you can use to include material design and iOS icons. And if you've used Ionicons in the past, you may be wondering why we removed rotating icons. And that is because we now have rotating or animated SVGs, which we realized that just rotating in a static image really wasn't that cool. So we wanted to provide something that had a little bit more, that looked a little bit cooler, and that's what we were able to do here. But if there's one thing I really want everyone to know from this talk is that there is much, much more to Ionic than just some JavaScript and CSS. We actually provide an entire ecosystem and community to help you build your apps fast. For starters, we have our Ionic CLI. And without me going too far into it and just talking about it, why don't we just do some changes here quick. Wish me luck. Thank you. All right, so assuming you already have Ionic CLI installed using npm, what you would do is Ionic start my app, which is going to be the name of the directory I'm going to use, and then we're going to use the tabs starter template. And I'm going to kick it off here, not one to trust any internet connection, so I already had it pre-built. Cheated a little bit there. Okay, so now let's do Ionic serve, which is going to fire up this development server. And there you have it. We already have an Ionic app built, ready for you to customize. But the next cool thing is that we actually provide live reload also. Let's move this guy down a little bit. So what we have here is the bar is colored bar stable, as you can see here. And what that means is that that's like a default color that Ionic comes with. But these are the colors that you're meant to customize. Let's just go in here and let's use, I don't like stable, let's use positive. Cool emotional color that we gave it. And you see how the bar live reloaded there to use the stable or the positive color? And let's go into tabs, and we also want to have our tabs to use positive also. Hit save, live reloads. Yeah. Thank you. All right, so that's just live reload for a web browser. Big deal, right? Okay, so let's go into here, and remember how I was talking about platform continuity? So Ionic serve -- lab. Now you can see how the exact same code base actually is showing the two differences. So I wrote it once, but it's able to adjust for Android and iOS. And the same thing is if I were to go into the different views, navigate a little bit, you see how they have different icons and different transitions. But also, we don't want a bunch of Ionic apps that look like Ionic apps. We want you guys to start customizing this. So let's go one step further. All right, so our actual app that I started was ready to go. So let's cd into my app. And this is where you would set up Sass. Now you can set up Sass however you'd like to do it with gulp, grunt, but we provided a tool that makes it even easier. So Ionic setup Sass. And for the same reasons, in the interest of time, I already set it up. All right, so with Sass built in, and I already have the server running, let's go back to Sublime. And you can see our Sass file where I have everything going off the default positive color. I wish this had more space to show you the differences, but here we go. So the positive color is based off here, but if your company had to have your own green, hit save, it's going to live reload immediately. So again, the entire Ionic CSS is now based off of your colors and your variables, and you can start going crazy in here and start making it your own app, making it unique to you, rather than having to override every single little color that we've set. These colors were very generic on purpose so that you do override them. But we're only in Chrome right now, right? That's no big deal. We actually want to build Cordova apps. So let's take it one more step further. So let's quit this server. Let's do Ionic run iOS, and let's still do live reload. So what's going to happen here is I'm actually, assuming you already have Xcode installed and Cordova is installed on your computer, this is going to fire up the simulator. Let's shrink that down a little bit. Perfect. And now we have an actually live reloading. This is the simulator. And because I'm presenting, I'm using the simulator so you can see it on my computer, but you could actually have an entire desk full of different devices, Android devices, iOS devices, iPads. And as you're making changes, these devices, which are not connected to your computer, are going to be live reloading. And you saw how long it took to build, right? Now you don't have to worry about that. You can just save and code and watch all these devices change as you're changing. And it's actually pretty cool to do, and it's a huge performance improvement, or for yourself. Thank you. And let's just take it one more step further. Let's go into the dashboard here, uncomment this button, and hit save. It's going to live reload. We now have a button here. And let's take a look at our JavaScript file where the controllers are. And when you click this button, it's going to print out console log hello ng-conf 2015, right? So in Chrome, you're going to see that print out in your console log. That's no big deal. That's not a trick at all. But when you have an actual device in your hand that's not connected to your computer, or an older Android device, and all the different scenarios, it's very hard to get these console logs out without jumping through a lot of hoops. That's why within our CLI, we also console logs, enable console logs. They can all show up in your console logs too, which is a huge performance. Again, helps you out with development. Thank you. All right, we made it. Cool. All right, so remember how I said how Android browser 4.3 and below was like the IE6 of mobile? Well, actually, the Ionic CLI also provides a way to replace that stock browser with modern Chromium builds. What that means is your Android, this is a great way to really fight that fragmentation problem that Android has, because now you're replacing that stock browser that your phone would have, or your app would have run on, with the latest and greatest Chrome, which offers amazing performance improvements. And I highly recommend whenever you're building an Android app. But what I really find cool about this is that you're using the exact same hardware and replacing it with modern software, and you gain this amazing performance improvements. So think about what that's like. We're doing that on old phones. Think about what hybrid apps are like on today's phones and tomorrow's phones, where we have faster hardware and faster software. So this is a great proof of how hybrid has a great future and how the web platform has a great future. Other projects that Ionic comes with is ng-Cordova, which is a great way to hook into the camera, Bluetooth, all the other same native APIs that native applications can hook into, but with the niceties of Angular. So in a few lines of code, you can use Angular services and Angular promises to get a hold of the camera within your JavaScript app. Next is we're rolling out Ionic I/O. This is the new services that Ionic is starting to roll out with providing push notifications, analytics, A/B testing, live updating, and many various other services that we're starting to push out just now, with our first one being push notifications. And I'd encourage you to check out this URL, take a look, and it's just a subtle thing that Ionic is starting to provide of taking a complicated process and making it even easier. So if you need push notifications in your hybrid app, please check these out. And we also have the Ionic View app. So what that is it's great for contractors and large teams and a lot of team members who aren't day-to-day coders, that they can actually view the development of your app that you're working on within their own device. So you can load it up with all these different devices or different apps you're working on, and other people that are not developers can now download this app and view the app directly on their phone, which is another great way to speed up your development time. And we have the Ionic Creator, which is a drag-and-drop interface builder for Ionic. So if you want to kick off a project really quickly, go ahead. And we couldn't be more proud of the Ionic community. It's amazing just how fast it's taken off. And so thank you to everyone who's been on IRC channels, Stack Overflow, the forum, all the pull requests we receive. We couldn't be more proud to be a part of it. And I'm personally honored to be a part of this whole thing that is Ionic. So thank you. Thank you to everyone in this room. Thank you to everyone around the world for helping it make Ionic what it is today. Thank you. And we've seen a huge adoption rate. We've had over 14,000 GitHub stars, over 70,000 downloads per month from NPM, and over 400,000 apps have been started from a CLI. And I'm also pretty thrilled to announce that we are finally have released release candidate 0 as of a couple minutes ago. So that's out. And there's a lot more coming. We're only getting started, so I'm very excited about all that. There's so much more coming, such as removing JavaScript scrolling when possible, more component modularity, more Ionic I/O services, and there's so much more to come. And before you start asking, and many have, yes, absolutely, Angular 2 with Ionic. We're absolutely going to do that. We've already been starting to work with the Angular team a little bit on that, and I've been so impressed with it. The performance improvements we're getting from it is amazing. So before anyone starts asking me, absolutely, we're going to do that. But do know that we're still going to support version 1 and the apps you're building today. So I love talking all this stuff. I love talking to Ionic, so please come find me afterwards. It's all the time I have, but thank you.